Hello, dear students. Today we are going to be discussing how you can get an exemption in law, whether you're a CS, CS, or CMA student. There are certain very important things that if you follow, you'll definitely get an exemption. This video is extremely important, so make sure you watch this video till the end. Share it with your friends. Also, subscribe to this channel, like this video, and let's start it without any further ado. So, first and most important thing is law means there is language, and language is extremely important. So, when you're reading law, make sure you're reading the language very correctly. You're reading every single word and understanding every single word. In law, you have to pay attention to details. You can't just casually be brushing through the chapter. For example, you know that or is different from and simply replacing these two words will change the meaning of law. You know may is different from shall, and simply replacing them will again change the provision. You know that sometimes when limits are mentioned, before the limits more than this much is mentioned, or sometimes it's mentioned not more than 100k or 100 crores, etc. Should not exceed. These words, these are very crucial, and if you miss out on these small words, also the entire meaning of law is going to change. So in law, language is extremely important, so pay very attention when you're reading and remember exactly what it says. If you simply reproduce casual language, if you brush through the sections and the chapters, you will probably miss out on details, and that will cost you. So don't do that. Okay. Also, your vocabulary and your English is extremely important. A student with good command on English, good command on vocabulary will definitely score better in law. I'm sorry, that is a harsh reality. So you need to make sure your English is good, your vocabulary is good. How? By reading more. Please read the book yourself. It could be study material, it could be some reference book, but read the provisions yourself. Don't just depend on lectures. I have seen many students who simply depend entirely on marathon lectures which are in Hindi. So they listen to the lectures and then they solve the exam questions. They think that this is enough to pass. I'm sorry, it's not. Why? Because you don't know the language. What are you going to write there? Even if you know the concepts, even if you know the provision, but in the exam your language will not be there because you have yourself not read the language. You have simply heard Hindi lectures. Okay. Or even if you've heard English lectures, you have not done the work yourself. You have not done any writing practice. You have not read the chapter yourself. Please don't do that mistake. Don't depend entirely on marathon lectures. Taking their help is not a problem, but don't entirely make that your strategy. Okay. It's very important that you carefully read the keywords and limits. Don't mix up the keywords, don't mix up the limits. Their accuracy is what determines how much marks you will get. You can't change 100 crores to 200 crores. You can't change ordinary resolution to special resolution. You can't write charges as a different word as a fleece. You can't change these words. Some words, they are particular to that subject of law and you have to reproduce them. There is no alternative. Connect similarities. Now when you will be studying law the first time, the second time, you will notice that this section was also saying something like this section was also saying something like this. You will notice that there are similar provisions in different sections. When that happens, don't just ignore it. Please don't ignore it. Connect the dots. Connect what happened. What is this section saying? Go back to that section, read it again, understand the difference between these two sections, write your side note about it so that next time you are not confused. Oftentimes in exam, questions are asked on these small micro things. They want to check whether you have read the law in detail or not. Make sure you are questioning law. See, law is basically rules that help us operate, that help companies operate, businesses operate, government operate, etc. Right? So these laws, they are common sense based. They are not some pseudo science. Normal humans have made it. Okay. So think of why there exists a law like this. Who is this law helping? Is it helping the company, the helping the shareholders? Is it trying to control a mischief? Okay, try to go behind that law. Don't just try to cram law. If you try to mug up law, ratify law, it will not help. You have to go behind the law and understand the concepts. You have to make a story. If you make that story correctly, you will remember law much better. Even if you forget law in exam, because your concepts are so strong, your story is so strong, you will come up with the right answer. without even knowing. Unconsciously, you will come up with the right answers. So make sure you know the story behind law. Think deeper. And if you have time, please make your own notes. It will really benefit you. Reading the section and then jotting down the key points that are there in the section in a separate piece of paper in your own hand. It will increase your speed. Plus, it will make your revision much easier because now you have your own summary notes. Plus, you will have better conceptual clarity. But this is useful only when you have time. If you don't have time, it's okay, don't do that. Just underline the main things, and that will help you. Next time, you simply read the main things. Moving on, many students they say that, ma'am, I completed 100% syllabus. I wrote also nicely, but I did not get marks in law. Why did I lose marks? I have discussed this with so many students, and these are the few points that I have come up with. These are the major mistakes that most of the students do without even realizing. So make sure you are not doing any of these mistakes. Okay, why students lose marks in law? First of all, casual language. The way I am talking to you, the way you are talking to your friends, you can't write that language in your exam. It's okay, that is also English, but still it is very casual. In law or in any other theory papers, you have to write professional language that increases your chances of getting marks. You have to write the correct keywords. Okay, along with that, even between keywords, these words like or and, like we have discussed, not more than, not exceeding, these words are very crucial. They explain entirely what law is. You change these words and the meaning of law is going to change. So you have to accurately reproduce these. Okay, limits, net worth limit, turnover limits, you have to be correct there also. Form numbers, CHG1, CHG4, you have to be accurate. Sections and rule numbers, please be accurate. If you don't know them, don't write them. Even if your entire answer is correct but section number, rule number is wrong, you will lose marks. Next thing is, sometimes students they don't read the question carefully. They are in a rush, they are in a panic situation, anxiety situation, so simply they just go through the question very fast. They miss out on important details, or sometimes they read the question wrongly according to whatever questions they have solved in their own practice. They misread the question. You have to very carefully read the question. Small words here and there can change the meaning of the questions. This is a common mistake students do, because of which their answers are also wrong. Next thing is, students they do not revise. Maybe you have done the 10 chapters, but you are revising only 6 chapters. The remaining 4 chapters you have not revised. You will not remember these 4 chapters. Even if you have done it once, you will not remember them, sadly. Same way, before the examination, in that last one day that you get, you have to quickly brush through every chapter that you have read. Many students they mismanage time in that last one day. So they are able to revise half of the course they're not able to revise. Then in the exam, they have a blur idea or a rough idea about the remaining chapters, but they don't remember accurately what was the law. They lose marks. So in exam, accuracy is what matters. Accurately, if you're able to reproduce the provision, you will get marks. Very simple solution: revise. Revising doesn't mean you have to learn everything. Just go through everything that you have underlined, all the important questions you've marked, read them again and you will recollect them. Another mistake students do is they leave out chapters. Sometimes a chapter is very big, it's of 75 pages, so they do 45 pages very nicely, but the remaining 30 pages they leave out because they are bored or they're tired. They don't finish the chapter, they do half of the chapter. Okay, and the question then comes from these 30 pages only. Or sometimes students they do only the important concepts from the chapter. Selective reading, they have seen that these are the topics that come in the exam majority, mostly. So they do those topics very nicely and remaining they leave out, and then question comes from those only. Okay, so please don't leave half chapters. If you are doing a chapter, do it from scratch till the end, then only you will you have the assurance that you will bag entire marks from there. Do full chapters. Same way, many students they do the A category chapters and the B category chapters. They leave out the C category chapters. They go in the exam only doing 70% of the syllabus. And by doing 70% of the syllabus, they are confident that they will get 50 marks. You will not. because this is a theory paper. You will lose marks here and there, you will make mistakes, you don't get 100% mark in the answer unless you are absolutely accurate. Don't leave out C category chapters and go in the exam. According to me, please attempt, please learn, study 100% of the syllabus. If not 100%, at least 90 to 95% of the syllabus. Finish it, revise it, then go sit in the exam. Okay. Some students, they have poor speed, they can't write very fast, so this is something you need to work on if it is a problem for you. Next is students don't have clarity of concepts, they have simply mugged up the concept, crammed the concept, or maybe brushed through the chapters. Okay, they don't link the different sections, like I have said. They don't have clarity of why the law is like that, because sometimes question comes to check whether you know the reason behind this law or not. So clarity of concepts is extremely important. How you can develop clarity of concept? By doing detailed study, first of all, in the first reading, second reading, and secondly doing exam papers and also study material questions. So when you do exam papers, you do study material questions, you understand the intricacies of the section. Maybe you understand the section like this, but actually it means like this. Questions, they tell you your own mistakes, you learn from them. So do that. Now let's discuss the study plan for your law. Okay, what do you need? You need a simple book. It could be study material or it could be reference book. It's not necessary that you go for an 800 pages book. So pick a book which is easy for you, specifically which you want to read, which you feel like reading and you can complete. So pick a simple book of any famous author. This book should have exam questions in it after every concept, so that when you study the concept, immediately you can also see the exam questions. Apart from that, we will need the study material just for illustrations and back questions. You need an MCQ booklet. Okay, apart from that, you need exam papers, you need RTPs, you need mock papers, which are, these are all, these are available on your institute's portal. Okay, and also you need amendments. Amendments are also available on the institute's portal. I see we have to try to read the syllabus at least 3 times, because it is theory and it is extremely vast. Law is very vast, so the more you read, the more you will remember. Oftentimes the first time a student tries to read the subject, it is very overwhelming. First it is massive, plus you don't understand any of it, so sometimes students, they try to mug it up all in the first reading. Please don't do that. Relax, you have to study this subject 3 times. The first time you read it, you have to focus on understanding only, you don't have to remember anything. Remembering will happen in the second reading and the third reading. First reading is only for understanding. Just read, understand, underline main things. Okay, only the main book you have to solve, and in the main book itself there is going to be some question and answers that will be there. Solve those question and answers and mark the important questions that you will solve next time. Make sure you look at the presentation of the answers here. At this stage itself, when you're solving the question and answers, there's going to be case study question and answers. They are written in three, in a format wherein first you write the provision, then you write the analysis, and then you write the conclusion. So observe that presentation, observe that language, read the answer. Here, the more you read, the more you observe the words, that is going to help you. Your foundation will be very strong that way. And at this stage, also know the ABC category chapters. For every chapter, check the past exam pattern and see which chapter is coming for how many marks. So which chapters are A category, which chapters are B category. Okay, whatever weightage you find out for different chapters, write it in the index, so that for later you know that these are bigger chapters, important chapters, these are less important chapters, etc. In the second reading, read the same book. Do not change the book, because reading the same book is going to increase your chances of remembering the concepts. You will do fast reading. Use the same book, read the underlying things, read the notes. If you have made any important questions that you have marked, only read those questions. Now here in the second reading, you take up RTP and exam papers, 2 to 3 RTPs and exam papers. You solve it yourself. Do it orally if you don't have time. It's okay. If you have time, then maybe write the paper entirely for 3 hours. It's okay. Both are equally good, both are equally bad. You just have to make sure, if you're orally solving the questions, mentally do the entire solving. Write the provision in your head, write the solution, analysis, conclusion, and then do the comparison. Don't simply look at the answer. Let your brain work. Okay, exercise this brain muscle. And at the second reading stage, you have to do active recall. Here, You read the chapter or the section and then say it by yourself. Read it and say it by yourself. Actively recall the things. That way, you will remember these sections, these provisions, these limits properly. Here, please incorporate amendments also. Make sure study material, illustrations, and back questions are also done. If you need, there are so many limits in every chapter. You can make a list of these important limits for revision also. Now, at this stage, please make sure you are studying the paper pattern. When you see the entire exam paper of 100 marks, see what is the paper pattern. So in CA, you have 30 marks of MCQs, 70 marks of theory paper. Now, in that 70 mark, also there are so many questions. You have to attempt so many questions. First one is compulsory. Other questions have parts. Then you have to see what type of questions are coming. Most of the questions are case study based questions. So check that. Then see how many questions are coming. The first compulsory question has 4 parts, then the second, third, fourth question has got three parts. Now this question is coming from this chapter, check that. So see which chapter is coming and which question. You will see the pattern if you analyze the past few papers. For CA inter students, I have done this analysis for you already, and I will put the video here in the I button and in the description box below. You can check the paper pattern and you can understand it by yourself. Moving on to the third reading, you will mostly get 2 to 3 days, or maybe you only get one day if it is before the exam. Then in this third reading, you have to do the 100% syllabus, but you only have to read the underlined portion and do some important questions that you have marked. That's it. Your speed of reading is extremely important. You have to divide the time. So for example, in one day you have to do 5 to 6 chapters. That means for one chapter you will probably get 1.5 hour to 2 hour. So 1.5 hour to 2 hour, you will have to read 20-30 pages. So per page you will have to try to finish it in 2 to 3 minutes. Third reading, this should be your speed per page. Obviously, that means you will not read the entire paragraph. You will only read the underlined portion and move on. And finally, your presentation in the exam is going to give you additional 5 to 10 marks if you are good enough. Your paper should stand out from the 10 papers ahead of you and 10 papers behind you. Okay, how will you have a good, nice presentation? First of all, have a good command on your language, English. Then have a good speed right from the very beginning, extremely fast. So for every single mark in the exam, you have 1.5 minutes. So if it is a 4 mark question, you have got 6 minutes to do it. Make sure from the very beginning you are checking the time and doing the paper in time. Okay, if it is case study based questions, then provision, analysis, conclusion, this presentation you have to follow. You have to underline the key things, the conclusion, important words, important limits. You have to write your answer in points as much as possible. You have to leave line between paragraphs. You can write answer in paragraph also. Every new answer should start from a new page. Then all the parts of one question should be together. That means question 1 has part A, B, C, D. Okay, so all these 4 parts should be one after another. You can do this first and this second and this third and this fourth. Internally, you can change their sequence, but all of these parts should be together. Don't do one part later on at the end. Always make sure that you are attempting the questions that you know best first. And then if you don't know any answer, you can come back to it later on. Okay, by the way, if you don't know any answer, then also attempt it. Worst case, you will lose marks, but at least attempt it. Okay, so whatever is in your understanding, even if it is simple introduction or a basic conclusion, or as per your basic understanding, whatever should be the solution of the answer, write it. Okay, that way at least there is a scope you might get half mark or 1 mark, and half mark and 1 mark also adds up to good 3-4 marks. It can help you. Make sure you're reading the questions very carefully. Make sure you're attempting 100% of the paper, so you're fast from the beginning. And whatever you are writing, be accurate. If you're accurate, you will get marks. Next important tip is that you have to subscribe the channel. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel yet, like this video and share it with your friends. These are all the tips I had. It will definitely help you get 60 plus in your examination. Bye bye.